You're listening to Build It Anyway, a podcast for people who are ready to take their dreams from idea to execution. We share the real stories of real people doing the real work to bring their dreams to life. So if you're ready to do the hard work, tune in. Hello, builders, and welcome back to another episode of the Build It Anyway podcast with Brianna Gilchrist. Remember I told y'all I was working on something special? So let me spill some of the tea. Today we have our very first political candidate on the podcast. This is a huge deal because you guys know that I'm very passionate about helping people take their dreams from idea to execution with minimum resources. And sometimes in this political landscape, we look at people who are running for office like they have so many resources. They have all this money coming in. They must come from money. There's a lot of negative stereotypes out there about people who run for office. But today we have someone who actually is from the community, is committed to the community, and is really trying to run for office with limited resources. So guess what that means? He needs our help. You can't say that my vote doesn't matter because it absolutely does in this case. You can complain about who your president is. You can complain about who your governor is. You can complain about all these different things. But guess what? You have control over those things. And you have direct control over who you vote in at the local level. Those are the people who are really going to make a difference for you, who you're going to see impact your child's education, impact the sewers, the roads, the streets, everything that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. If you live outside of the DMV area, is going to come from your local government. That's a little different for us out here in DC because our local government is the national government. But nevertheless, if you are in New Jersey, specifically in Middlesex Boro, you have an opportunity to actually vote for someone who could directly impact the lives of your children, the lives of yourselves, right? You know, that pothole that you run over every day on your way to work that annoys you, that intersection and that street light that just never seems to work. Maybe you are a homeowner and you have some issues with your property taxes or some of those things that's going on. This is possibly the person that you can speak to about those things. And so today I have the pleasure and honor of I call him Chairman Rouse, but today we're going to call him Vincent Rouse Sr. He is running for office in the Middlesex Boro district, right? He's running for councilman.
Yes.
So yeah, I've known Mr. Vincent. I don't even know what to call you now because I've called you so many things over the years for a lot of years.
All good things.
All good things. Nothing bad, but meaning so just a little bit of backstory. I have difficulty deciding to call you Mr. or Chairman or Bishop or Pastor because when I first met you, I was a student. And you were on the board of Marion P. Thomas Charter School. So you were doing a lot of the labor of love to help build our village and make sure that it was successful so that students like myself and my sisters could have somewhere to go where we felt safe and valued and appreciated in the city of Newark. Right? So I know you in that capacity. Yes. And then somewhere along the way, I joined the board. So now you are the chairman. So I addressed you as such. I also met you when you were a pastor, and then you got ordained as a bishop. So lots of titles and lots of changes, which I think really just speaks to your overall commitment to community and constant progression, right? Like I've known you for years, but I've known you in different capacities because you've been such a hard worker and you're always trying to get to the next level. But regardless of what you're working on, whether it's in the ministry, whether it's in the community, with the Newark Housing Authority, or it's with Marion P. Thomas Charter School as our chairman, right? You've always had this constant thread of community focus, of being faith-driven, and really caring about students. So when I found out that you were running for office, I got super excited about that. And I couldn't wait to have you on the podcast because this is what I'm talking about. These are the people who are going to make a difference, right? You can't control everything, but you can control who you voting at the local level. And you can control the character of those people. So if you vote in people with good character, right, then you hopefully get good results. So this is a man who I can speak about his character because I do know you as a person. And I think you have exceptional character. Over the years that I've known you, you've been consistent in giving back to the community, volunteering your time.
Thank you.
So graciously. And remaining so humble, even in some of the most difficult, contentious situations. So I am just so excited to have you here. So enough about me talking about you. Let's talk about you. Who I know you as a bishop, but like, what was little Vincent like, and what made you want to give to the community in all these different ways?
Thank you so much, and again, thank you so much for inviting me on, Brianna. I really appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to you and everybody. And yes, Vincent Rouse, right? Vincent Rouse. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I was born to some young parents, right? My parents conceived me when they were teenagers, and so I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents were community servants, would say, right? My grandmother worked in Newark public school system as a community person, and my grandfather worked for the city of Newark, as community, and so it's been embedded in me to help the community. And you mentioned about all the titles, right? I grew up in church and grew up around folk and grew up serving, and so my main title, I would say, is a servant. Right, with everything
Absolutely.
else, right? It's servant, and that's a part of my heart. That's a part of my being. That's a part of who I am. It's to serve. I'm grateful for all the positions that I was been allowed to occupy, but again, most importantly, is servant. And so I'm married. I have 3 children. And I'm excited about what God is even doing in their life and how, they are developing into folks who will serve community, my children, right? My wife also, right, serves community. So we are a community family. And so we've been in Middlesex Boro for about 6.5 years. Living here, and we bring that community love that we have allowed to be in other spaces. We want to bring it home, right, to where we live and where we reside every day. And so, yes, Middlesex Borough is my home. I am running for councilman for Middlesex Borough here in 2025. I'm excited to do it, not because of the accolades and any of that stuff, but for the fact that we're able to serve the community. My family, again, have lived here for about 6.5 years. We moved here from Edison. We are excited to be residents here. We are excited to be a part of the activities and the local events that take place in the community forums. We've been committed to be a voice so that everyone is valued. Right? That's a part of why I'm running as well. We want everyone to be valued. Everybody's important, right? My theme, right? Praise the Lord, is meant united we stand, together we can. Right?
United, I like that. United we stand together. Almost like I came up with it.
Come on.
United we stand.
Together we can.
Together we can.
We got to do it together.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. In this climate that we're living in today, right? We got to show more unity, and we have to do this together. It's going to take that unity, that togetherness, to make sure that everybody gets what they need to survive, right? And so that we need to also make sure, and honestly speaking, right, that our political leadership is diverse. Here in Middlesex, wonderful people, wonderful family-oriented community, loving. But there's only one party that is kind of running everything, right? And so I am a Democrat. I'm a Democrat,
okay.
And so we're running
a
on
strong Democrat.
I know. Come on here, right? And so I'm a part of the Middlesex Borough Democratic Organization, a part of the Middlesex County organization who have endorsed me. And so we are grateful for that. And so we want to bring some more balance to the leadership here in Middlesex Borough, that there is
Okay.
democratic representation, right?
Strong
Strong.
democratic
Come on here.
representation.
Come on here with that. Yes, man.
Listen,
We make sure we put these adjectives strong. That's right.
listen.
That's who God made us to be. That's what we're gonna do.
Absolutely.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, so let's get into it just a little bit. Let's get
Okay.
into it. So I know your background. You say you are a servant, right? Regardless of what title you've held, which were
Yeah.
many,
Yes.
you were, the common theme is you are a servant leader, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about some of those titles just a little bit. I know that's not what we're running for right now, but I do think it's important for people to understand just how embedded in the community that you are. Yes, you moved to a new city and now you've been here for 6 years and you feel invested and you want to get involved in the community. But let me tell y'all something. He's always been involved in the community. This is
Absolutely.
just another extension. In life, when you transition to different places, you have to take responsibilities in those different places. And so
Absolutely.
now, since you've been in Middlesex Borough, you've now
Mhm.
transitioned from, the Newark Housing Authority and making sure you put your in-grounds there. And now
Mhm.
you're trying to make sure that your actual neighborhood that you live in is able to benefit from all the service and the things that you've done. So that's the big picture. But let's get into the smaller picture. Out of all the roles that you've had, I've known that you've worked at the Newark Housing Authority. You've been a board member
Mhm.
for umpteen years. So since I was a student to now being on the board, you were a board member. I know that you worked at Central High School and you've made incredible impacts on some of the young men in that space, right? So tell me a little bit about one of your favorite roles or maybe one of the most impactful roles that you can pull from that will be helpful for this next position.
Mm. Wow.
I know that's a tongue twist. I know
yeah.
because you've held so many.
It's loaded. Wow. So definitely one of the most impactful. Well, since you brought it up, yeah, Central High School. When I worked at Central High School, it was, and I was in the public schools for at least about 15 years, 15, 16 years. And one of the last roles that I played there was I dealt with community, right? Community organizer,
Mhm.
getting parents engaged, getting families engaged, getting students. That is who I am, right? And so I had an opportunity to be a part of lives of families, making sure that our young people, our young men especially, develop
Mhm.
into great young men, right? And that families would have the resources that were needed to assist them in becoming the great young men that a lot of them are today. And so, yes, that was a great time in my career there, and seeing the results of that, Brianna, it's mind blowing at times. Of course, God be praised for everything, and I'm grateful to see young men who now I'm not old, but they're older
No.
now. They're older now. They're grown. They have children, and when I see them and I see how that time that we spent together was so impactful in their lives, that they are now just doing great things. It takes me back to say, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to even have the privilege and opportunity to be a servant, and to be used to help these young men and some young women to become who they are today while they were in the high school setting. And so that was one of the most impactful times in my life. And because we can see
Well,
the
I
results.
don't take any slight. I definitely think that you've impacted my life I'm going to call myself a young lady
Okay.
in the in the most positive ways. However, I will speak to the fact that there is a need, right? And you met
Yes.
a need, being an example for young Black men in the city of Newark made a difference for you, and I'm sure it made a difference for a lot of them. And it's needed. I needed an example, right? I needed female examples to show that I can be something different. And you standing fully in who you were as a person also gave a lot of young men an
Mhm.
example.
Mhm.
And that's something that we can all be grateful for. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you show up and what you do on a day-to-day basis, and
Mhm.
not just in your job, but outside of your job. So, like I mentioned, that might have been a paid role, but even outside of that, you
Yeah,
volunteer in many capacities to
absolutely.
help
That
and
is true.
serve,
That is true. We had,
to
but
continue to help and serve.
Yep. Speaking of that, we had a community organization that we started, um, the Pleasant House of Hope. That's a 501c3 that we started that encompassed a male mentorship group there as well. So again,
See?
that wasn't paid, but that was something that we did to help the community surrounding our church area and those that was a part of our church body. And so yes, that has been a part of our life to make sure we do that, even with some family members, right? We take them in, and they become our son, right? They become
Yes.
right because
Adopted
that's
family.
adopted family. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also know that you were a part of, like, the beginning of Marion P. Thomas Charter School, which that
Yeah.
motto is, it takes a village to raise a child. So that literally has been a theme of your life. And it's
Oh,
been, you've continued it, not just in, like I said, the roles that you were paid to do, but also in the roles that you volunteered and took time away from your family to do.
yes. Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
you're not
25
just
years
someone
strong now.
25 years
25
strong,
years.
but also your family was invested.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that, your wife, your children, they're all community people. And that's true because, yes, they may have their own things that they're doing, but to be in support and allow you to be able to dedicate so much time and effort and energy
Mm-hmm.
outside of the house, your wife has to be supportive. She has
Yeah.
to be invested in that. And that's a beautiful thing. So to have a
Absolutely.
family, right? If you get Vincent Rouse, you don't just get Vincent Rouse, you get the whole Rouse family.
Come on here.
We're
We
all
come as a
invested
package.
in making sure that, the vision is carried on. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we got into a little bit of your background. If you really want to know the detail of his background, check out his LinkedIn. It's there, the resume's there. Go online. You can get into all the specifics of all the roles that he's had over the years, if you want to fact check his community involvement. It's there. However, let's transition a little bit. You mentioned something earlier that I really, really, really liked. You said, "United, we stand.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we can." Did
Right.
I say it right?
Yes, you said it
Okay,
right.
that means I really liked it because I remembered it. So that really speaks to the idea of synergy, right? Like if we work together, we
Mm-hmm.
go further. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you bring people along with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it sounds like you're really trying to do. So break that down for me a little bit. How did you come up with that platform? And what
Mm-hmm.
does it mean to you?
Wow, great question, Brianna. And yes, I came up with that because that was what I felt as I made the decision to run for council here in Middlesex Borough. As I began to attend community events, as I began to work with families here in the borough, as I began to work in one of the schools here in the borough as a substitute teacher, and I began to know people it began to show me the diverse folks that we have here, diverse cultures and things that we have in the town. And just to see that if everybody really come together, that we could really make a difference, not even just here in the town, but be an example to surrounding towns, to the state of New Jersey, to the United States of America, of how people of different cultures, different backgrounds, different race can come together and be one. And so that came to me, united we stand, together we can. A gospel writer wrote a song. uh, uh, and then it came to me, and I went to go to find the song, and it was written by Timothy Wright. I give Timothy Wright,
Oh, okay.
amen. Yeah, he wrote it. United we stand, together we can. I went found it, and so some of the things that you may see on my social media page with it, you will hear that song in the background. Right? United we stand, together we can, because we can do it together, and we can stand united, even when we have people that may be in office that seem to want to divide and conquer. Right? We as people can come together, stand together, united, so that we can go further, right, together and make things happen for everybody and not just
some people.
some people, but everybody.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I'm not really familiar. I'm from Jersey, right? Even though I live in the DMV now, but I'm not super familiar with Middlesex Borough, right? I was raised in Newark, New Jersey. And then I lived in Plainfield, and that's where most of like the political work I've done was in like the Plainfield area, the Newark area, under Mayor Cory Booker, 22nd District in Plainfield, General Assembly, like that type of work. But very much grassroots organizing, very much community outreach, community centered. What, you've lived in a couple different places, right? I've known you from your time in Newark. You've also lived in Edison. You've recently, you're now anchored into the Middlesex Boroughs community. What, you said you attended some of the community events, right? So what was what did you feel at some of these community events, or what was your experience that encouraged you to want to run for office and not just pay your taxes and show up at a meeting?
Absolutely. Great question, because, I would show up and then, some folk would look like, well, who is this? Who is this? Because of course, with a town with only about 15,000 people, right, that's real small, right, compared to
Very small,
Newark.
much smaller than Newark.
Right, with 315,000 people. And so, people, automatically know each other. So if you wonder, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And most of the time, I'm always suited up because that's who I am. Right. And so people began to, ask questions and wonder. And so I would have to engage, which is a good thing, right? Because people want to know who are you? And I love that type of engagement. Because I love community. And so it made me want to get to know folk even more. And then when people found out about some of my background, people would ask questions like, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? And those things kind of pondered on me. So they said, you know what? You need to be able to be in a position so that you can be able to foster more of these relationships and help people in a greater way. Right. And so that's what pushed me to say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. In Obama terms, yes, you can.
Yes,
right?
Yes, we can. I think we need that more than ever now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I really like your slogan. I feel like that should be like the national slogan, but we'll start here, Middlesex Borough, like you said. If we can get it right here, this could be the example for the larger county, for the state, maybe even the country. We don't know. It all starts with one small movement to see where we go, right? And so I'm excited to see what happens with this campaign and where you go from here. So, a little bit into the weeds. So election day is coming up.
Yeah.
Primary election day is coming up. What do people need to know about you? We know that you're a servant leader. We know that you're a man of faith. We know that you're a man of family, right?
Yes.
Those three things are important to you. But specifically for Middlesex Borough, what are some of the changes that you're trying to make? Why are you running for councilman?
Yeah.
And like I said, not just showing up at a meeting and complaining.
Right.
What are some of the things that you want to see done that you're going to work on?
Definitely, but I'm not a complainer. I'm a worker.
You're not a complainer. You are a worker.
Well, I'm a worker, so we got to get in the weeds to make sure we get the work done. So some of the things that have come to my attention through conversation and through fellowship with my neighbors and those surrounding here in Middlesex Borough, and that we want to focus in on is, we want to bring back responsible financial solutions to our borough by reviewing current project financial goals, right? So that we can make sure it's efficient. And we want to also be able to leverage resources that will help save money and make projects, more affordable and attainable. Sometimes people think because we're in Middlesex and Borough, right, it's a suburban town. Right, we got it. Right, that's right. That ain't always the case. Right? That's not always the case.
And even if we do have it, we may want to use it in another area.
Absolutely.
That don't mean we want to waste the money.
Absolutely.
On you.
Absolutely. On things that are, frivolous. We can make sure, praise God, that we have good financial solutions for things, right? Because we want to make sure we bring on these taxes. We pay our taxes, right? We pay our taxes, and taxes, go up and up and up and up
And
uh,
up
and
and
up,
up.
right? And so we want to be able to. We want to also improve infrastructure, right? Middlesex Borough is over 100 years old, and it's some of the infrastructure have not yet been dealt with. We want to make sure that we work on that, right? So as new families are coming in,
Infrastructure like what? So let's say you have some people in your town, right? So
Yeah.
here's the thing. You get two sides of me because you know me. So
Yeah.
the political side of me is going to let you speak to your talking points. But then the Brianna side of me is like, okay, let's break this down for people who have no idea what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
Infrastructure.
So yeah,
That's a big word.
So looking
What do
at
you
our
mean?
current code enforcement ordinances, right? So that we can ensure compliance there, right? Because we've had
First and foremost.
yes, on working with our current officials in developing equitable, clean energy solutions,
Got it.
like
Okay.
solar and LED lighting in the town, things like that.
You mean to tell me Middlesex Borough don't have solar yet?
Well, not everywhere,
Not
but definitely.
everywhere. The former political person in me, right? Because I've backed out of the political space for a while now, loves talking points, right? We have these things that we speak to because they're the buzzwords that get things done and get people's attention. But also as a taxpayer, sometimes those buzzwords don't really resonate with me on a day-to-day basis and in just how I live my life. So for those people who may be in Middlesex Borough who are trying to figure out who is Vincent Rouse, why should we vote for him? Like, why does he need to be councilman? What could we expect to see? Like, he says infrastructure, but what does that mean?
Right.
What can they expect to see if you're voted into office?
Good question. Yeah, definitely. So when I say focusing on infrastructure, I want to start with assessing our current code enforcement ordinances, right? Work with the council on that so that we can ensure compliance with that. Because I know I've been here and we've had some complaints on certain things. We want to work with our county officials, right? So because we want to leverage, all our opportunities, right? So we want to work with our county officials to develop equitable, clean energy solutions like solar and LED lighting for our town, right? We want to be able to address some ongoing concerns for revitalizing our parks that we have, right?
Okay.
Middlesex Borough is known for our parks, right? We want to, provide safety for our residents and have add some programming as well. Have a wonderful group of youth and families and young people here. Want to do that so that we can improve our cameras and everything so that we could be able to see what's going on, because we want to be safe everywhere we go. We don't want to just assume that things are always
that
going to
we're
be
safe.
Right. We want to be able, to do that as well. So when I say infrastructure, and also one last thing, but infrastructure is that we look into working with our sewer system. Yeah, because some residents have, as we've been going around, boots on the ground, knocking on the doors, talking to residents. There've been some concerns about our sewer system and how old it is, and how will it be able to sustain itself more years. And so definitely we want to work with that.
And that was something that you found out knocking on the doors? You mean to tell me you are old school campaigning?
Boots
you
on
door
the ground,
knocking
on the doors. I want folks to see this face, not just on a flyer, not just on a card, but I want to shake your hand. I want to listen. You invite me in, we're going to have a conversation. Or if we at the door, we're going to talk. And before I leave, we're going to be almost best friends.
I would tell you, as someone who used to be the door knocker, right? So when you, just as a quick side note, if there's anybody who's listening who's in college, one of the ways to make money in college during election season is they will come pick you up from your campus and pay you between minimum wage and $25 an hour to go knock on doors for elections. So if there is a local election in your neighborhood, in your town, and you are in the college in that particular town, find the local campaign they will pay you to knock on doors. That's a side note. But I used to knock on doors, right? So I've knocked on doors for years for many campaigns. And I will tell you now, as an actual taxpayer and voter, I feel some type of way that people don't knock on my door.
There's not too much knocking going on now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so to hear that you are really committed, like you're in the ground, you're on the ground, boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Might have to insert that song, but it's like you're really invested because you want people to see you, you want them to meet you, you want them to get a feel for who you are. And I'll tell you, we hope that you win this election, but whether you win or not, now that they know your face, they're going to complain to you anyway.
Right.
So, so if you're going to complain to him anyway, you might as well vote him in so that we can make a difference in your town and you have somebody to hold accountable for the things that he said he's going to do.
Right.
We'll go over them again before we end this, but he's already spoken to the infrastructure and some of the things that he wants to see done in Middlesex Boro. So if you make sure that you go out there and vote on June 10th, when those things are not done, you can hit him up. You can hit him up directly. And figure out why it's not being done. And
come ring my bell.
You can ring the bell, but also you can show up at the church. You can show up at the school. There's plenty of ways.
That's church a little bit too far for some of the residents out here. They can come ring the bell. And you can email me, right? Vincent Rouse for Middlesex 2025 at gmail.com, right? Vincent Rouse for Middlesex 2025 at gmail.com. Email me, come ring the bell. You'll see me out in the streets. I'm out there. I'm not one to just be sitting at home, right? As long as we don't have anything to do with my family, because of course we take care of our families. I'm out in the community. Family first, right? Family first, and I'm out in the community.
I know that you're in a community because you said that you were a substitute teacher at the local school. So tell me about that experience. What have you learned about the community? Because there's a difference between living in a community, working in a community, and then working in a school in a community. We know the schools get a lot of the stuff.
Yes.
We get the stuff.
I love it. That's why I love it. Right? Because of the fact that you get to see the real Middlesex in the school.
The parents. Students, staff.
And I'm in the middle school, so right, that is a great experience because definitely the scholars are very vigorous, right? And they're very excited about the fact because now, since I've been knocking on doors and ringing bells, the kids know now. And so they are like, wow, this is amazing. And so again, in the schools, you get to see the various cultures that we have, right? The diversity. You see all of that in the school system, which what makes you want to even work harder and do more to make sure that we bridge the gap in any place where there may be some division or maybe some misunderstandings, unclarity. We want to bring it together, right? And again, that's another reason why I'm on that theme hard. United, we stand together. We can, because of the fact every day I get to go into Margaret Middle School, which is the middle school here in town, and work as a permanent sub there, and get to engage and affect lives positively there every single day, and to see and to hear the young people in the town is an awesome experience.
If you really want to see how this could change the lives of the young people in your town, vote for Vincent Rouse, because you will get to see how the students are excited about it. And then the students can see how someone who is actually in their school, who they know is not only participating in the political process, putting themselves out there, but also willing to make a difference. I feel like so many people are just, we're just not feeling good about politics in the country right now.
Right.
We don't really feel good about our vote. We don't feel good about our voice, right? When even in our school, we talk to the students, like we try to get them invested in the political process because ultimately they're going to be the voters of the future.
You're right. Exactly.
They can't vote now, but they will be the voters of the future, right? Absolutely. And so having their ear, being able to talk to them and connect with them and have them even understand what the political process is and why you're running for councilman, what that means. What does it mean to be a councilman,
Right,
right?
right.
Like
And
that's
that's awesome, right? I'm glad you said that, because that have been the discussion, not in school. So we can make that clear. We have none of these discussions while school is going on, while
we
we
are
on school
working.
property. We are working, right? We got assignments we got to complete because we're in June. School is almost over. But outside of school, that's the beautiful thing, right? When I'm going to the store, when I'm going to the 7-Eleven, when I'm going to the Wendy's, right? When I'm in the supermarket area, I see them all over the place. And it becomes a discussion at that point, like Mr. Rouse, like, what is this about, right? They call me Mr. Rouse, Mr. Rouse. You know, can we help? How can we help? I'm excited. I'm gonna tell my mom. I'm gonna tell my dad, and I'm like, please do,
Please do.
please do, right? Right, but we can't talk about this in school. But while we over here at the Papa John's pizza store, right, and I'm getting my daughter something, and her friends are in there from school, and they see the cars, they see the things going on. It was like, oh my goodness, Mr. Yeah, tell mom, tell dad, right? Because we're going to do this thing together. United we stand. Together we can.
All right. And let's get into that background a little bit. So we're going to do this together. Do you have, a big campaign funder funding your campaign for you?
Woo.
Or are we doing this boots on the ground?
Boots
Like,
on the ground. We do not have that, right? Middlesex Boro Democratic Organization it was a little dormant for a little while, and so now it's revitalizing itself. And we're
so
coming
we're
up.
doing two things at one time.
Man, you know how it is. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Right, it's coming back up. We have a great person who is the Democratic chair. She's actually my Sora.
Mm-hmm.
And she is helping to build it back up so that we can make sure that we continue to get out there. And we have been boots on the ground. Again, no, there have not been no big funder, big donations that have come in. And so we're asking those that can and will to donate, to give, because again, it costs money to be able to do certain things during a campaign season. But right now, we are boots on the ground. We're going door to door. We're knocking on
So
the
let
door.
me educate the listeners for a quick second. So
Okay.
often we complain about how all of our politicians only support rich people, only support the people with money, only support big business. They never look out for the little person, which is not true. It is true in some cases, but not in all cases. But a part of why that is because big business fund campaigns. The people with the money are the people who get behind certain political leaders. And then when those people are voted into office, they feel beholden to do something for the people who helped them get into office. So, one of the major differences with the Obama campaign is that a lot of local churches and local community organizations actually supported the Obama campaign. So, right? Let's keep that in mind for the Democratic parties, particularly in Middlesex Borough. When you want to see change and you want to have impact and you want to influence certain things, you have to put your hat in a race, but you also have to put your pocketbook in a race. And so support local candidates where you can so that they owe you something just as much as they owe the big people something. I'll leave it there. I'm not going to say they don't take funders from like Pepsi, but if Brianna donates, if I live in Middlesex Borough and I send some money to a campaign, you best believe I'm going to show up at that council meeting and I'm going to expect to be heard. So
Understood.
participate, right? You're a taxpayer, you're contributing to the local economy. If you have more resources, you can also donate to the local campaigns. But when you put your financial hat in the race, you're more involved and people owe you an explanation. So whether you're paying your tax dollars or whether you are physically donating to campaigns, when you put your voice out there, when you are an active participant, people have to respond. And if they don't respond, what did Mr. Vincent already say? Knock on his door. He said it.
There you go.
I didn't say it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if anybody want to donate, you can. All checks can be made payable to the committee to elect Vincent Rouse. Again, that's the committee to elect Vincent Rouse. And definitely, we will take any donation. No donation is too small, and definitely no donation is too big.
No.
Well, there are limitations. Wait, there are limitations, right? That you have to abide by according to law, and so definitely, we have that discussion when the big donation come. Right?
Okay.
We want to make sure that we stay in court.
In compliance, because we follow the rules.
Absolutely.
We follow the
Absolutely.
rules around
Because
here.
let me say, there was a situation with Democrats in the town where some rules weren't followed. And so it left a bad taste. Of course, I was not around during that time, of course.
That was
but
prior to 6 years ago.
Prior to 6 years ago, prior to me being around. So we wanted to let you know that we're here, we're accountable, we're going to be responsible, and we're going to make sure we do what we have to do to represent the people. Because again, united, we stand together, we can.
Yeah. I will also say that you've always been a person of good character. Like, I've never had to question your character. You know, I will question it if I had to. But
I know.
He knows me personally. He knows I will question it if I have to and get with him. But I've never had to question your character. Like, you know, character is one of those things that is a non-negotiable for me. It's either you have good character or you don't. And if I have to figure out which one it is, I'm ultimately going to step to the side and let God figure it out, because I can't read people's minds, and God can show and reveal character way better than I can.
Absolutely.
So, you know, but in all the years that I've known you, you've had nothing but good character. That has not been something I've had to question about you. And that's why I was so excited to find out that you were running for office, because so often people who run for office have questionable character and you don't. You're actually very genuine and you are passionate and you want to do this. And I think that's why it makes all the difference. You don't feel obligated to do it. You want to do it. It's not coming from a place of like, I need to do this to make money or have other incentives. Like, you're genuinely like, I am just here to help.
Absolutely.
And I want to make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because this is not a moneymaker.
I'm sure.
Right. There's no high salary here. None of that is involved. It's pure from the heart and wanting to serve.
All right. That's exciting. Okay. So before we get out of here, what is something else you want the people to know? So we already went over that you want to make sure that that Middlesex Boro has financially responsible solutions, that we are making sure that we're strengthening relationships. I don't think we touched on that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, strengthening those relationships. Yes. So we want to improve the relationship between the council and the Board of Education, right? The Board of Education have its own elected officials. I'm very clear of that, right? Right. I am a chair of a board of education, right? And so I understand that very clear. But we want to do that. We want to bring together, right, through regular communication, establishing some collaborative events, right? And inviting some of the Board of Education members to do some strategic planning to get those events done and things like that. So there's a stronger relationship between the legislators and those who are on the board to make sure we continue to bring this town together, right? I'm the conduit to bring everybody together. That's what my
what
job.
It sounds like. You are a bridge connector.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's very much on brand and on theme, right? United, we stand together. We can. How are we going to do things together or united if we're not communicating and talking and building relationships?
Building relationships, absolutely. Because it's right, especially when it comes to the Board of Education, it's all about our children. It's about our babies, right? My daughter, right? She attends Margaret Middle. She attends, right? My son, he's graduating this year, but right now he attends Middlesex High School.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we vested, right? And so just like other parents, my children are here. And I want my children to have a wonderful experience.
And your house is there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't own a home yet, but I imagine if I owned a home and had kids, I would want the neighborhood to be
right. And a lot of our taxes go to the school system.
Okay.
A lot of it, right? Over 67, almost 60-70% of our taxes go to the school system.
The local schools? How many? Never mind. I'm not going to get into that.
Right. So
60-70% going. Yeah, we need to make sure that those relationships.
We need to make sure that it's right. We got to make sure those relationships is tight.
Very tight. All right. Okay. So we know that you're working on the relationship. We're working on the infrastructure, and we're working on being more fiscally responsible. Right. I think that I got to feel that you're very invested in the community and you are committed. Is there anything else that you want the people to know about you and why you're running for office and why they should go out there and vote for you during primaries on June 10th?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Well, again, I want you to know that I'm the man for the community, and I have a heart for the community. I have a heart for people. I have a heart for family, and want to just build together. And so, if you want to be on this team to build together, right? Brianna, you said it so wonderfully, right? If you want to go fast, right, you go alone. I think I might be saying a little wrong.
Well, this is
But
it's a requote of a requote. So however you
There you
say
go.
it, it's
Okay,
a
all right.
requote of a
But
requote.
if you want to go far, if we want to go far, we got to go together. We got to go
Absolutely.
together, right? And so I want us all to go together, right? This has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with color, it has nothing to do with religion, sexual orientation, none of that. All of us, we're together. We're all one. Why? Because we were all made by God. We're all God's children. And so that's what we want to do here in Middlesex Borough. And we can be the utopia, right?
For New Jersey.
Come on here, right?
Listen, maybe if I move back to Jersey, I might have to check out Middlesex Boro, especially if you're the councilman.
That's
I would
right.
feel
Come on
safe
out
and
here.
comfortable moving there.
Come on out, right? As we grow and still remain family.
Okay,
That's the
so
key.
I can't let you go without doing what I do with other people. I know this was a political podcast, guys, and we don't really do that. But I do have to ask you a couple questions that's a little bit more personal before we head out. It's our quick round. It's going to be pretty fast, and it will be painful. Painless. Sorry, not painful. Painless. Not painful. Painless. Okay, so what role has faith played for you in your life, but more importantly, in taking the step out to run for office? This is the first time you're running for office, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the first time you're running for office. So you're taking this dream in your head, and now we're trying to bring it to fruition. And what role has faith played in that for you?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that question. Faith played everything. Faith have everything to do with it, right? Because I've been groomed to love God since I was a child. And the Lord has always spoken to me about greater things that I will be doing in my life. And some of those things I've already obtained, and there are more things that I have to go. And this is one of the areas. For those of you who are religious, it has been spoken prophetically in my life that I would hold a political office.
Mm-hmm.
I, in my mind, I thought it would be in another place in space, but this is where the Lord would have for me to be, because this is where the Lord wants some transformation to take place in the lives of his people. So faith has everything to do with it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think that so often we think we know the plans for our life. And they always say, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Right.
So
he'll come in and say shift.
Literally Control Alt Delete. Like you
Right.
thought that's where you was going, but
Right.
that ain't even it. That has happened for me in so many areas of my life where I thought I knew what I would be doing. Like I never thought I would be where I'm at doing what I'm doing now. So but God ultimately has the final say so over
Right.
everything, as long as we submit our plans to Him and have the faith that we need to carry it through.
Absolutely.
So I know that you're faith-based. I had to ask you that question. And then what does build it anyway mean to you?
Build it anyway. I love it. What it means to me is that no matter what the circumstance, no matter what trial, no matter what tribulation, no matter what comes that the enemy may try to throw your way, do it anyway. Because what God has for you, it is for you. Now, he didn't say that we wouldn't go through trials or the weapon would not form, but it won't prosper. So we cannot allow certain things to keep us from reaching that goal that God has already predestined and preordained for our lives. Build it anyway. And I'm telling you, you're going to love the results. You're going to love what you see when you do it
I
anyway.
agree with that. I think you're going to love what you see. I think you may not love the process, but that's
Right.
okay. That's okay, right?
That's okay.
You
Right.
know, No discipline. I don't know I was reading the scripture this morning, but right now it's losing it's escaping me. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. I think it's like a Kurt Franklin line too, on like one of the intros of his song. But yeah, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but if you go through it, it will produce perseverance and faith, and just the fruit of going through it is going to be well worth it.
Absolutely.
And I will also say that when you endure, when the enemy is always going to send distractions. That's all he can do is send distractions. But when you get over those distractions and you keep going anyway, what God empowers you to create, is going to be way better than you thought it was going to be. Because there's no way that our mind could even fathom all the wonderful things that God has in store for us.
Absolutely.
But you're a better person at the end of it, right? That the character building process is important, because you don't want to get to a place in life where you've gotten the things, but you don't have the character to hold on to the things.
Come on here.
Right? You don't want that.
Right.
Because people say that, like, money doesn't buy happiness, because it doesn't. Like, you can get there, but if you haven't developed your character, trust me, it's not going to be worth it.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
It's not. It's not. It's not.
You might as well take the slow and steady route.
There you go. Go with the flow of God.
Go with the flow of God, because trying not to is just going to make it way more difficult and way less rewarding at the end. So might as well.
Yep. And so when we leave this earth, when God calls our name and it's time for us to exit out, we want to die empty and not die full.
Of the things we should have did.
Yes, because there are too many people in the grave that were still full of the things that they were afraid to do, or thought twice about it, or had negative people in their ear and then do it. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure when we leave here, we leave empty, that we have poured out everything that God has purposed us to do. Because again, we remain in the earth when we do that, even if our physical bodies are no longer here.
Isn't that a good? Oh, I like that. That is a seed. When you pour out what you're supposed to do, you remain here.
You remain here.
Even when you leave. That is that's literally the point of legacy.
Absolutely.
When you do your part. And the thing is, you said something, you said that things that you do, even when you're afraid, even when you may not know, that's the distraction that I was talking about, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling fear, anxiety, you don't think you can do it, those are distractions. Those are all things that come from the enemy. It's your responsibility to get to where you're supposed to be. Absolutely. I don't know much about sports, but I do know when a coach puts a playbook together, right? There's a position for everybody and where they're supposed to be. And it's your job to get to where you're supposed to be on the field, despite who's trying to distract you, despite what man is trying to guard you, despite who's in the audience, despite what's happening. It's your job to get to where you're supposed to be on that field so that the play can be executed.
Absolutely.
That's the same thing in life. It's your job to get to where you're supposed to be so that the play can be executed. Absolutely. There are things that you're supposed to do. There's people you're supposed to connect with. There's lives that you're supposed to change. And you can't do it if you're sitting at home scared and waiting for it to happen. So get out there and do it.
Can't be on the bench. You got to get up and get in the game. You got to get up and get in the game. Can't be on the bench. Got to get up and get in the game.
So thank you. Thank you so much for showing up and doing this interview with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing with me that you're running for office.
Yes.
I can't vote because I'm not in Middlesex, but all of you guys who are in Middlesex, all of my Jersey listeners, like, if you are in Middlesex, or if you have Middlesex Boro, or if you have family in Middlesex Boro, go out and vote in primary elections. Yeah. And that is very important. I know that we're in a climate where we may not feel like our vote matters, and particularly for African Americans of this climate and people who identify as Democrat, we may feel disenfranchised and uninspired to vote. Let me tell you something. That is a distraction from the enemy. Get up, Go vote. Go be an active participant. Do not let things distract you from doing the work that needs to be done. So if you're in Middlesex Boro, get up, get out there, go vote. Please, 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 please participate, because your local election is really what's going to impact the lives of you, your children, your tax dollars. Like, that's going to impact you.
Amen.
So get out there and vote.
Come on, June 10th. June 10th is the primaries. Out in Middlesex Boro, the schools are closed. And most of the polling places are in the schools. So there will be no excuse, because the kids won't be in the school. You can go to school and vote. And there's also early voting as well.
I was going to say that.
Started today. Early voting started today. But if you're in Middlesex Boro, you would have to go over in Piscataway to vote for the early voting. Yeah. There are also those that have already mailed in their mail-in ballots. Thank you for that. Right. But again, early voting is all this week. You have to go over in Piscataway. But June 10th.
June 10th. On or before June 10th. So June 10th is the last day that you can vote in the primary election. And if you want to see Mr. Rouse, Vincent Rouse, Chairman Rouse, Bishop Rouse, whatever title we go by today, because you hold so many titles, all because you're a servant leader. If you want to see a man of faith and character and good substance on the ballot, which is quite the difference from our national climate right now. You want to see somebody with good character, right? Good character on the ballot, go out and vote. Go out and vote for a man of faith, a man of God, a family man. Like, those are the things that's going to make all the difference. And don't you want your kids to be happy? Imagine how happy your kids would be if one of their substitute teachers is voted into office as a councilman. That is one way to get your students and your kids excited, and they'll probably think you're cool. I'm just saying. If you tell your kids that you voted for him, they might actually think you're cool, because you know how kids are. They don't think we're cool. So, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I can't wait to get this out to our people. And let's get through primaries, and maybe we'll have you back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'd love to be back.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to the Build It Anyway podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard and you want to hear more from me, please head over to builditanywaypodcast.com to join our lovely community. You can also join our Facebook community, Build It Anyway Podcast. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, please remember to leave a review, to like, and to follow the show to stay up to date what we're doing. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.